Great, thanks. Good evening, everyone. Brendan Magnan, Chair of the Milford Inland's Wetlands Agency, calling the October 1st, 2025 public hearing and regular meeting to order. Lisa, could you please call the roll, noting that we expect Steve Munson, Nick Ritchie, and Warren Field to be excused this evening.
Daniel Bediger.
Here.
Ranjit Bahav.
Here.
Brian Black.
Here.
Jim Connors. Julie Valvo.
Here.
Ray Gradwell.
Here.
Brendan Magnan.
Here, thank you, Lisa. Maros, just let us know when Mr. Connors is able to get in, if you could, please. Commissioner Gradwell, could you please serve as voting alternate this evening?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, this evening we do have a quorum, and as a reminder, as we continue to host remote meetings, this meeting is being recorded and is being broadcast on YouTube as we speak, and will be made available on the City of Milford website. During the meeting, if anyone from the public is wishing to address the agency, please wait to be recognized by me. Once you raise your hand using the Zoom feature, all participants should remain on mute until recognized by me. Once recognized, please state your name, address, and while speaking, just please be sensitive to the fact that we are only regulating wetlands, brooks, rivers, flooding, and wetland habitat. Zoning issues are not under our purview. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to unmute themselves, stand, and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. If Mary Rose, you could please share the flag.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that.
Okay, we have the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. If everyone could go back on mute, and apologies for the delay in getting started. We had a commissioner who was having difficulty getting in, some technical difficulty. We are here this evening to continue the public hearing for 34 Buick Avenue and to proceed with our regular business. For the public hearing portion, which has been continued since July 16th, I'd like Mary Rose, if you could just put it on the record as to what information is available for the public, and then I'll speak to some of the rules.
Sure. The following information is available in the MIWA office and online in the document links that are located on the top of the agenda. We have a file contents list. We have the certificates of mailing, the application and all supporting documents that have been received, peer review reports and documentation, professional qualifications for the consultants. This public hearing has started on 7/16/25 and was last continued at 9/3/25. An extension will be necessary to continue the hearing past this evening.
Thank you, Mary Rose. As a reminder of the rules, we are going to be proceeding with the following protocols. We're going to be asking anyone that's wishing to speak against the application to speak first, especially those who did not have an opportunity to speak at the July 16th public hearing. Those wishing to speak will be called upon. Mary Rose, I believe, has a list of 3 who have registered initially, and then we'll open it up to the floor. My only ask is that as you present your opposition, please keep it to the wetlands and also don't repeat something you've already put on the record. Please limit it to the new information that we're discussing and new information that's been received since the last public hearing. My last reminder is, as it relates to the testimony, we are here solely to regulate the wetlands as defined under state law. We certainly thank everybody for your interest, and we will be deliberating as and when the public hearing closes. And we will be merely focusing on the testimony and the application before us, and the legal jurisdiction and the training that we've all had. So with that in mind, I'm sorry, and once we get through those in opposed, we'll open it up to those who are either not classified as either against or in favor, and then we'll go to those who are in favor. Once that is done, we will invite our expert from Land Tech, or experts from Land Tech, to present, and then we will open it up for questions from the agency. Mayor Rose, did I get that summation correct?
Yes, with the exception of we need the presentation of the new material from the applicant.
Indeed, and that will kick us off. We will start with that. I think that's missing from my little guide. So thanks for clarifying that. Okay. So at this time, Mr. Chris Aden, I'm going to hand the floor to you and your applicant team.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My camera's not working tonight for some reason. Good evening to you and the commission, the agency. My name is Kevin Kersaden. My office is at 243 Broad Street here in Milford. With me this evening is Bob Weway, professional engineer, Jeff Gordon, landscape architect, Jen Benno, environmental scientist, and Matt Pop, environmental scientist. And I'll have them elaborate on their credentials, but I believe you have all of their CVs as well. Just real brief, we did present new information a couple of days ago. I know that the agency has not had much time to review it. Our plan for this evening is to have Mr. Weway go over the highlights, the major points of the plan revisions. Mr. Gordon will go over the soil and erosion updates, followed by a biofiltration area overview. Ms. Benno will discuss environmental assessment of biofiltration area, and Matt Pop will discuss environmental assessment of biofiltration area and the mitigation plan, excuse me, that's adjacent to the existing house that came up at the end of the last meeting as part of the discussion. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Weway. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Kersaden. That sounds great. Appreciate it. Mr. Weway, you have the floor.
Okay, good evening. My name is Robert Weway. I'm a professional engineer and principal with the firm of Codispodian Associates, with offices located at 263 Boston Post Road in Orange, Connecticut. And we're here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Dan Thornburg. I do want to apologize to the commission for the lateness in getting the materials over. Subsequent to our earlier September meeting, we had hoped to get together with town staff, and due to vacations and other scheduling issues, we weren't able to meet with them until just over a week ago on September 22nd. That meeting was attended by Mary Rose, city engineer Greg Podolsky, Rob Pryor, and Tom Ryder from Land Tech, and the rest of our design team, to basically discuss the city engineer and Land Tech's review comments for the project. The purpose of the meeting was basically to discuss our responses and possible remedies to address their concerns. Based upon this meeting, the project drawings were revised and submitted to the commission a week later for their review. While not all inclusive, the following are going to be specific comments and highlights with respect to the wetlands. Probably the most prominent is going to be the permeable pavers. As a result of the meeting, the permeable paver system was raised to provide a minimum 2-foot vertical separation distance to the mottling depth. Our original design had provided for more than 2-foot separation distance to the observed groundwater elevation at the time of soils testing and the groundwater monitoring that occurred during the spring of 2025. So by raising the separating distance, or making that 2-foot separating distance to mottling as opposed to the groundwater elevations that were recorded, in my opinion, this results in an ultra-conservative design. For the simple reason that while mottling is an indicator of the water table through the soils profile, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's where the water table gets to every single year or through every wet period. It's just basically the formation of the oxidation in the soils that occur over a long period of time. So with that being said, we did take the comments from the reviewers, and we did provide for the 2-foot separating distance. And an important note with that too is that the 2-foot separating distance provides for unsaturated soil conditions where soluble nutrients will be treated as part of the pavement system. So basically, the 2 sets of nutrients that we would typically look at are going to be the nitrogen and phosphorus. So for the nitrogen basically goes through a denitrification process within the soil zone. And likewise, the phosphorus is sorbed onto the soil particles and provide for storage of the phosphorus within the subsurface or within the soil profile below the reservoir beds. Now, the city engineer had also raised some questions with regards to hydrocarbons and oils and grease and things like that may come from vehicle drippings. And basically, to give you a little bit more of a background and detail on that the hydrocarbons are going to be treated with the permeable paver system and the subsurface soil conditions, basically through 4 primary mechanisms. And the first one being filtration and sorption. As the stormwater infiltrates through the joint aggregate and the pavers and the bedding layers, suspended hydrocarbon particles will attach to the fine sediments. The stone bedding will act like a filter, capturing particulate-bound hydrocarbons. There's also going to be biological degradation. Many of the hydrocarbons are biodegradable, and microbes that colonize the aggregate layers within the reservoir system or within the paver system and the subgrade soils metabolize the petroleum hydrocarbons, using them as a carbon source to basically break the hydrocarbons down. So this is most effective under aerobic conditions which occur within the layers of the paver system, and this is where it becomes important to maintain that 2-foot separating distance in the subsoil conditions, which we've done with the modified design plan. The third component with regards to the hydrocarbons is soil and media absorption. So the finer soils that are encountered underneath the reservoir beds provide for absorption of any of the dissolved hydrocarbons that may migrate their way down through the system. And the last item is retention and reduced mobility. So the hydrocarbons generally have low solubility in water and typically remain bound to the sediments rather than moving freely in the infiltrating water that's going down through the paver system. The hydrocarbons would typically tend to be retained in the upper layers of the pavement system where they can degrade over time. Now, in light with that too, we also provided some supplemental material for the city engineer, and I believe it's been made part of the record here. And probably the main document with regards to the pollutant removals is a study that was done by the University of New Hampshire, which is titled Final Report on a Cold Climate Permeable Interlocking Concrete Pavement Test Facility at the University of New Hampshire Stormwater System. And basically, that was a study that was done a number of years ago, I think back in 2013. And what was significant is that the results from that study with regards to pollutants showed throughout the study that the pollutant mass removals exceeded 95% for total suspended solids, total zinc, which are metals, total petroleum hydrocarbons, as well as nutrients, including total phosphorus and total nitrogen. This is also a further reason why Connecticut DEEP and the EPA recognize the permeable pavements as a best management practice for stormwater management for the effective treatment of stormwater pollutants that are typically encountered in the stormwater runoff. With regard to the permeable pavers, we've also added a detailed sequence of construction for the permeable pavers, and that's been added to sheet SP3 of the design drawings. Likewise, we've also added enhanced construction phasing, and that's also been included on sheet SP3 of the design drawings. Now, we've also looked at one of the other comments that came back from the city engineer was the impacts to Buick Avenue as a result of the stormwater. And what we did is we took a look at the surface watershed areas to Buick Avenue, basically between the head wall of the twin 36-inch culverts and Cherry Street. And what we observed is that under present-day conditions, there's approximately 6.9 acres of surface flow that is associated with this particular area. And under the proposed plan, that will be reduced to less than a half an acre. So quite a bit of reduction associated with the collection and infiltration runoff coming down to that area. Now, the reduction going from the 6.9 to the less than a half acre is attributed to the collection or in part to the collection and infiltration of the runoff from the proposed development, which includes the proposed paver parking area and roof areas. So basically, the bulk of what you're seeing on the site plan that's up right now is that the internal areas are all being collected, infiltrated, and stored within that reservoir system, and will no longer be reaching Buick Avenue as a surface flow. You know, the flows will, once they infiltrate through the paver system and work their way down through the soils, they will reach the groundwater, and at some point they would eventually reach Stubby Plain Brook going through that area. But the surface flows that the city engineer was making reference to have been dramatically reduced in that area. So with the reduction in the surface discharge area, common sense would say that the pollutant loadings are also going to be dramatically reduced to Buick Avenue. So we've also made a number of improvements to the Buick Avenue design, and probably the most prominent, looking at the comments from the city engineer, was that we are now including concrete curbing along the south side of Buick Avenue. There was some concern in there that we basically had an edge of asphalt just draining off onto a stone trench, and your city engineer had a number of concerns with that. So what we're doing with the concrete curbing, we are going to put slots in the curbing every 10 feet. So what that will do, that will promote non-point discharge to the area in back of the proposed curbing. So as an additional modification to the drawings, we've also shifted the Buick Avenue pavement a little bit further up to the north or towards our property by approximately 5 feet or so. So what that did is that opened up the area on the south side of Buick Avenue, and it allowed us to look at putting in a biofiltration area, which I think, as Mary Rose was just highlighting, is going to be set up adjacent to the twin 36-inch culverts, and then going down through that triangle area there. And that will provide, some beneficial renovation of the stormwater that is collecting on Buick Avenue, and primarily only from Buick Avenue, and will provide the treatment in through that section there. And then the biofiltration area will further enhanced with a stone trench in back of the curbing once we get down below that lower triangle portion. So it represents probably a 30-foot long trench now to get down to a proposed catch basin, which was not on the original design. And we're going to put that catch basin, and that catch basin will be located on top of the existing storm drain line that's in Buick Avenue. So that catch basin will be fitted with a 4-foot deep sump, which will provide for additional sediment storage coming in through that area, as well as providing with a hooded outlet on the outfall pipe, which will be discharged to the head wall right at the intersection of Cherry Street and Buick Avenue. So we feel that with the improvements that are made to Buick Avenue on the revised drawings, that's going to go a long way towards providing additional mitigation within those particular areas. And the last item that I'll go over and highlight is the perimeter drainage system for the proposed project. Again, as what was mentioned at the previous meeting, there's a watershed area that comes down from Sunnyside Court, as well as some of the adjacent residential properties, which right now discharges through an existing pipe that's located off-site of our property, and that basically all flows onto our property via sheet flow. And what we're proposing, or what's on the current set of plans, is that piping be extended up into the right-of-way, with a connection being made through a new catch basin, and then extended down to our yard drain 3 on our property, at which point it'll be carried around the perimeter of the property, so that it ultimately gets discharged going out to the head wall on Stubby Plain Brook over by the twin 36-inch culverts. So as part of the, some of the reviewers' comments dealt with the discharge coming out of that piping system, and then also the analysis and the sizing of the pipe, which we provided that documentation for the reviewers, or per the reviewers' comments. So we provided the sizing of the pipes as well as the discharge coming out of the pipe at the head wall. And what that analysis had indicated is that we found that the exit velocities coming out of our pipe will be less than 2.5 feet per second for a 10-year discharge coming through that system. And based upon the 2.5 feet per second, those would be considered to be non-erosive velocities with respect to the existing stream bed channel. And by way of reference, the stream bed channel is comprised of an extremely compact fine gravel substrate populated with cobbles. And with this type of a surface, the maximum non-erosive velocity is estimated to be approximately 5.5 feet per second. So our discharge will be well below that. And also by way of reference, the existing twin 36-inch culverts have a discharge of approximately 160 cubic feet per second, as reported by FEMA for a 10-year flood event. And based upon visual observation, I'm sure the commission members, if they can remember from the site walk, there are no visible signs of erosion or scour taking place on the downhill side of the outlet. So it's my opinion that the proposed outlet through the head wall will not create any negative impacts to the water course in that particular location. So that pretty much sums it up. So unless the commission has any questions, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Jeff Gordon to further discuss the modifications to the soil erosion control plan in the biofiltration areas, and then that'll be followed by Matt Pop and Jen Beno to provide their environmental assessments for the biofiltration area.
Thanks, Mr. Weiwei. Go ahead, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Jeff Gordon. I'm a principal with Codaspodi and Associates, working with Bob Weiwei and the rest of our design team on site planning and the S&E measures for this particular development. I happen to be one of the charter members of the International Erosion Control Association and have taken post-graduate work in bioengineering for S&E measures. And this is what really the 2024 updated S&E guidelines for the state of Connecticut is advising us to do. They're dovetailing this with the new stormwater management manual from 2024. And previously there were hopes that we would integrate low impact development in features into design. And now the guidance is that it really is a must do. And we don't want to develop with a one type fits all type of development, but they want LID measures to be the primary focus in planning and design. And again, ties in with the the stormwater management regulations that was updated with more current data. And that translates into some of the features that we have to look at. Now, again, part of this is to integrate LID measures in the initial phases of the design. Often projects would be designed and at the end we would just, throw a few hay bales, and now we don't even throw hay bales there because of the invasives that are in the hay bales, but there used to be just a few little features that were added. The new guidelines have updated with some extra design features, but it really is the attitude and the approach that you're taking that's really important, integrating low impact development into the planning process. So again, it's a primary planning step in the stormwater management process. And our first attempt is to manage stormwater runoff using on-site measures, natural or distributed measures before considering traditional centralized locations like a retention pond or a stormwater big concrete structure or separator, things of that nature. That of course still has its use, but that's not the primary goal anymore. So again, it's a focus on functional design. The document was reformatted to prioritize desired function and outcome of design rather than prescribing the one-size-fits-all approach. And this gives us more resilient, lower maintenance solutions tailored to the particular site, where you're using multiple different methods to affect erosion control. It's more holistic in planning. So features Connecticut include just the planning and design to minimize disturbance, disconnecting impervious surfaces, using structural best management practices like rain gardens, bioretention cells, permeable pavements, green roofs, vegetated filter strips. And these features manage stormwater close to its source by infiltrating, filtering, and detaining runoff. And this preserves the natural hydrology, therefore reducing erosion. So in this particular application here, we have followed some of the guidance there about the permeable pavement. We have the vegetated swales. We have the biofiltration area. We have the separation of the roof from a point discharge. And also we've done, extensive use of native plant materials in the landscaping. And this helps stabilize soil and absorbs more water, therefore reduces runoff. The rain gardens and retention cells, again, depressed landscaped areas that collect and filter stormwater. It promotes infiltration, reducing runoff volume. So Bob spoke quite at length there about the permeable pavement. The vegetated filter strips are gently sloping planted areas that slow down and filter runoff before it enters the waterways, and that reduces sediment. If we go back to that sheet SP3 that Mary Rose had up there before, what we have done is we have a fairly robust sequence of construction. The intent of that sequence is to protect underlying soils from compaction in areas where infiltration is proposed. Adjustments in the sequence may be driven by weather, contractor availability, seasonal disruption, start dates, those things, it's a living document. It sometimes needs to be adjusted in its scheduling. But we have a number of phases that are talked about the access to the site, the demolition, where we're going to be placing and how we're going to be placing overburden to protect against compaction, areas that are going to be primary access areas for heavy equipment. And then we have that vacant area above there, Mary Rose, that's going to be for very, very light access, light storage. And then we have right in front of the building there, we have about a 15 to 20 foot, go up a little bit more. And in the crook of the elbow, right there and up, areas for access for the high-low equipment and some construction equipment as well. So we have those things brought out in the phasing plan, which is on the plan. And then we also have a specific sequence of construction for the permeable pavers themselves, how those areas are going to be identified and protected. And this is something, and the sequence in which the cells are going to be constructed. The north finger of that parking area there near the dumpster, that area is actually in a cut situation. So the overburden is not really required in that area. But as we go to the south, that's where we're starting to be into the area where we're going to certainly have special protection of the soils. The access to the site, it comes off of Buick Street, right in the crook of the elbow there, and then kind of like a hard right into that area. And that area is going to be the area where most heavy equipment will access the site. Now, if we have an opportunity, I don't know, Mary Rose, if you can bring up the biofiltration plan. Oh.
Can you tell me which sheet that's on, Jeff?
Oh boy, it was added late, but, or you can blow up that one over there.
Okay.
There you'll see
Mary
that.
Rose, it should be the last sheet. It's SP10.
Okay.
Thank you.
What happens? Oops.
That's the tree inventory.
Oh, tree inventory. What is this? Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so it's about.
Sarah, I'm going to mute you.
That could be,
Am I close?
well, that's Matt's plan. He'll be speaking to that. But
Okay.
keep going to is that the last one in your group?
That's the last sheet in the set.
Okay, well, why don't you go over just to the landscaping plan and we'll just highlight that one area. Keep going up. Okay. Well, that's good. It's pretty. I'm not sure that has that in this particular.
I know that it has the level of detail you want.
No, it was the regular planting plan. Let's go back up with another sheet. There you go. This will be good. Well, maybe not. I thought I saw it earlier. No? It's funny, you had it up there before.
Mary Rose, I believe is on page 13.
Thank you. Oh, too far down. That's my bad. Oh, well, apparently Zoom did not like that. Hold on a second.
You fell off the earth.
Got a very angry little guy.
Well, just the comment on the plant materials there, we have introduced the iris, the ferns, spice bush, black gum, arrowwood, all native plant materials in order to create a naturalized depressed area, as was highlighted in the 2024 S&E plan. So we've basically done many of the components, different components. We've added them together: biofiltration, permeable pavement, vegetated swales. There you go. That's great. Yeah. So this is the area that is south of the slotted curbs that Bob was talking about, that Mr. Podlisky had requested. And these are little basins there that one can leak into the other and can be used to form a treatment. And we have the detail there in the lower towards the right there, that biofiltration detail with the plantings. And you can see there's the slotted drain, drops off. There's an under drain behind that curb. And then we have about a 12-inch deep biofilter area that has a special plant medium that these shrubs and grasses will be planted in. So that would really cover the area that I was going to talk about, but I guess Jen Benno would next comment a little bit more about the impacts on wetlands biofiltration.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Go ahead, Ms. Benno.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Jen Benno, biologist, wetland scientist with Soil Science and Environmental Services. Our office is in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, and I've been with the firm since 1994. And I'm co-owner of the company. So I'm just going to give you a little information on that bioswale area that they're proposing south of Buick Avenue. So currently there are no stormwater runoff measures or management treatment, anything on Buick Avenue. And water just flows untreated into Stubby Plain Brook. And you could see it was evident on one of our recent inspections last week. We were out there, and it's like a wash area, or kind of like a leak off, where you could see stormwater just ran off the road and into Stubby Plain Brook. So the applicant is proposing a small bioswale, and that's south of the road. And so they would create a swale in that area, and then they would provide a good growing medium, and then provide native plantings. And one benefit for doing the swale is, well, there are actually a couple of benefits. First, you get the stormwater treatment before it enters Stubby Plain Brook, and you're also removing invasive species. So there are several Norway maples in that area that will be removed. So in our opinion, the bioswale, though it might look really small, we think that something is better than nothing in that area, and some sort of stormwater treatment is necessary for that Buick Avenue runoff. I think that's pretty much all I had to say on that. So I'll turn it over to Matt Pop, and he can describe the plantings and add any other information.
Good evening, I'm Matthew Pop, landscape architect, professional wetland scientist with Environmental Land Solutions. I prepared one of the mitigation plans and kind of reviewed the project for wetland impacts. I visited the site on August 26th, September 15th, and September 23rd. Maybe we could just keep this drawing up for a second or two. You can see the wetland area borders or Stubby Plain Brook flows through the wetland. The wetland consists of mainly a lot of fill, a lot of Norway maples. There's multiflora rose, garlic mustard, and those are three non-native invasive species. The brook itself is channelized. There's boulders on the bank that were placed years ago. The bottom of the watercourse consists of stone, chunks of asphalt, concrete, bricks, and masonry blocks. It's extremely compact. I walked through this section, some of the sections of the brook. So at the last meeting, I think Tom Ryder noted that this type of watercourse is flashy, meaning that after a rain event, there's water flows through the channel, but then immediately after the rain event, the flow stops, and that's kind of what I found also. So flashy water courses mean that it typically mean that it's like an urban setting where water flows on hardscape areas, flows quickly down into the water course and off to the downstream. Flashy water courses also usually have little green space above it, little infiltration. So there's usually no or very little, again, treatment of runoff. So there was no water flowing in August 16th and September 15th. There was a little bit flowing on September 23rd. So the September 15th and August 26th, no flow. It was completely dry. There was some talk about benthic organisms within the water course, I think at the last meeting. Typically flashy water courses, that dry out quickly. These organisms are usually, they're few. They're very adaptable. They have to be adaptable and they're tolerant of, harsh conditions, the drying and flooding conditions. So I went there actually had a snake hook and I turned over a bunch of the rocks within the water course. And I found just what I expected, very few organisms. I found, I think, like 2 earthworms, a couple of centipedes, and about 20 pill bugs. I looked for a while too. But the bottom is, again, extremely compact. Some areas almost felt like it was concrete in a section, especially just in the section that we're looking at, just below the head wall there. Regarding the placement of the 24-inch drainage pipe into the head wall, in my opinion, again, that won't have an adverse impact, a significant adverse impact to the wetland or to the water course. Again, that area of the section of the brook, extremely compact. When water flows out of that, there'll be a lot of water flowing through that channel to begin with. So as Bob noted, just like to point out one thing about the drainage system. He went quite a bit of detail on the permeable pavers. That is, 90 feet away from the wetland at its closest point and 110 feet from the water course. So that's a significant distance. Just for comparison, the parking lot, maybe you can't see it in this one, just to the north of the site is about 40 feet from the wetland. But maybe we can go to my mitigation plan. So you can see you can see the distance. We have about 90 feet from the edge of our pavement, right, from the permeable pavers right there to the wetland at its closest point, and about 110 feet to the water course. As Bob noted, the permeable pavers will infiltrate stormwater runoff. It traps a lot of sediments that collect the pollutants, recharges groundwater, which I think is a good thing here. Again, it makes that flow in Stubby Plain Brook longer, so it's less flashy, which is something that you strive for. So to me, there would be no adverse impact, from water quality from the site, permeable pavers or drainage system. Jeff Gordon kind of went over the proposed biofilter, which is just on the south side of Buick Ave. Again, we shifted Buick Ave a little bit to the north so we can get that in. There'll be a few Norway maples. I think there might be one red maple that come out. Again, we are replanting that with the additional shade trees, mainly the black gum, and then putting in iris and ferns, dairy tolerant plants. So that will help cleanse the water from Buick Ave. The plan that you see here, which I kind of, as soon as I went out, if we could slide down just a little bit. Actually, actually up, there we go, right there. So right in that section of the site in the south west corner of the site, on the north side of the brook, there's area of lawn. It's not maintained now, but it could be in the future. So that to me seemed like a suitable place to mitigate. There's 2 or 3 Norway maples that overhang the house that would come out. Again, those are non-native species. and we would plant 7 shade trees, 1 understory tree. There's 40 shrubs along kind of the backside closer to the brook. And then the hatched area would be left as a meadow. That area would get cut, once a year. And then that buffer area, the hatched area, would be delineated with the boulder row, which you could kind of see the boulders lining right through there and up, just to protect that area so that there'd be no lawn encroachment. So again, we're removing about 5,300 square feet of lawn. Again, it's not maintained now, but in the future, it definitely could be. So I think that's a great thing to improve the water quality. I'd just like to maybe conclude that says SW Plain Brook is highly disturbed in an urban environment. It's flashy, which we're trying to get away from. The wetlands bordering it, are filled with a lot of non-native species. The permeable pavers, again, 90 feet away from the wetland, 110 feet from the water course. We're proposing in the biofilter along the south side of the road. The mitigation plan that I prepared here, 5,300 square feet, again, designed to improve water quality. Based on the plan that Bob presented, the plan that Jeff presented, and this mitigation plan, I'd like to sum up that, in my opinion, there won't be any adverse impact to the wetlands or to Stubby Plain Brook. In fact, it probably would help and cleanse some of the water that runs off the brook, runs off the road now. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Pop.
You're welcome.
We may have questions. We're going to proceed with opening up for public testimony. And before we transition to that, just as a reminder, this is a continuation of the public hearing. No need to repeat what you've already stated on the record. That's already part of our deliberation. Please, if you have something to address, speak to only new information that's been given. And please also consider the fact that we have our third-party expert that will be presenting to the agency after the public hearing. And after that, the agency will decide whether the information that we have before us is complete. And if so, whether or not we will continue the public hearing or otherwise. So, Mary Rose, did you have a list of folks that previously identified themselves as wishing to speak in opposition?
I do. Just 1 second. Mr. Chairman, you have Bill Silver, then Willis Morris, then Baluis Harb, who will be speaking on behalf of himself and his spouse, Salumi Harb.
And if everybody could raise their hand after we get through those first folks that were pre-registered. Mr. Silver, you have the floor.
Very good. Hopefully you can hear me, and thank you for your work again and your diligence. Certainly there is a lot of information that has been delivered in the last 3 days. And to make the point of that, some of this information was delivered at 3 o'clock this afternoon and at 8 a.m. This morning, and I'm retired and I haven't been able to go through all of it yet, so I'm impressed if all of you have. So to address new points, new issues. One, I guess I would love to hear from Land Tech and others, but you've already said that you're waiting to hear from the experts till afterwards. And I'd love to know their opinion of some of the new details that have come through. But to address new issues on SP3, the erosion control, the construction phasing, phases 1 and 2 on the east side of the project, they call that for staging and utilities. That they want to protect that base material, and this gets to the inland wetlands issue in your control area on cell number 1, that base material does not get compacted, so it no longer can take infiltration from the cells that are overflowing down into number 1. My point there is that they say that they want to protect the materials, base materials with overburden, and yet Mary Rose and others are going to be required to define what is overburden. How do they know that they are adequately protecting that 60-foot wide area that serves the phase one area that leads up to the building. Without that definition, then overburden is undefined and there's no way of managing the construction process. Also, they're removing several buildings along that phase one area, which means they're excavating down a good 4 feet or more to remove the foundations for those buildings. That gets us into the groundwater or close to the groundwater area. And so how is that affected by the need for overburden? It's really not well defined. It's great to see the phasing drawings, but on the east side, that's the first phase, they're going to be driving multiple concrete trucks up that 60-foot wide aisle where they are also staging all of their materials in that 60-foot wide area over cell number 1 and cell number 2. Are they really adequately protecting it? And is 60-foot wide really adequate for pouring all the concrete that's related to the foundations for that massive 5-story building? So I'm concerned that phase number 1 is really adequately protecting the subsoils. On the west side, phase number 1 and 2, it says no equipment in that large parking area. They say that it shall only be used for light storage. They don't define what is light storage. So we don't know if they're protecting the material in which we're draining into in cells number 1, which is in your control area, and then number 2, 3, 4, and 5. So again, they don't define what light storage is. So how does Mary Rose manage during construction that they are properly only putting light storage in the phase 2 area? So I'm concerned, especially in phase number 1, which is all the heavy construction in that 60-foot wide area, that you've got multiple heavy construction equipment going into the building area to excavate. And what they don't define is what do they do with all of the excess materials that are coming out of the excavation for the foundations. They show the topsoil over by the historic house, but they don't show all the fill material. So is that fill material going into the 60-foot wide area plus concrete trucks, et cetera? And certainly because it's a 5-story building, the lower stories are heavy construction, which means a lot of concrete forms, steel framing, et cetera, that are all going to be laid out in this 60-foot wide area. I think we have to look at the reasonableness of that and protecting the subsurface drainage material in cell number 1 and 2. This certainly what the applicant has now provided is great complex detailing. In exhibit number 1, they show the paver cells and how they're tiered down, how they have to be detailed carefully with barrier baffles and inspection ports. And so I guess I'm kind of wondering, should the city, the detailing shows how complex all of those cells are that feed into cell number 1 in your control area and then over onto the road. And so I'm concerned that the city and the Inland Wetlands Commission, how do you deal with inspecting the detail that goes into this project to make sure it's done properly? And so I guess I would ask that the Inland Wetlands consider that requiring a field engineer to observe and report daily on the grading of the stone that's brought onto the site. They've got very specific grading requirements for that stone, which we're percolating into, and the installation of it. It's very easy to cover up a lot of this soil work that's going to happen in phase 1 and phase 2 if you're not on site daily. And so how do you know that the contractors who aren't here today, but the contractors who will be doing this work 6 months from now, will they be doing it in accordance with the details? And so I would encourage you to require a daily field engineer to be part of the approval process. And then last but not least, there was the comment of no scouring downstream of the head wall. I guess I would remind you of that video that was shown during the July 18th public hearing that showed the frequent flooding of Stubby Brook. And as it hits that first head wall, how it jumps over that head wall, fills Buick Avenue to a significant depth, and then obviously overflows into the rest of the wetlands area. That video is graphic demonstration of the storms and the frequent storms that come down from, yes, our urban area, but it's part of your responsibility to protect it. And I think that scouring of the stream is a relative phrase, because it was, hopefully you were as impressed as we were by that video and how that torrent did affect the wetlands area. And with that, I think I've talked enough, and I'll defer back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Silver, for your expert opinion. Thank you. Mary Rose, who's next?
We have, sorry, Willis Morse.
Mr. Morris, I believe you're on mute.
The button didn't take. Let's try that again. Thanks for the opportunity to speak quickly. And yes, to Mr. Silver's point, a tremendous amount of material has been made available here. Working through it, obviously. One of the new items that I happened to notice because I was paying attention to the permeable pavers issues in the previous submissions. I'm glad to see there's a new section on the maintenance, the maintenance plan regarding these. Maintenance of permeable pavers is a critical part of this. Infiltration has to be maintained. That's obviously the whole point of these systems is to infiltrate down and percolate. Lack of infiltration, it's obviously going to result in runoff. It could result in surface pooling. There are actually some papers out there suggesting that it can result in subsurface pooling, resulting in potentially anaerobic conditions, which has impacts on the nitrification. So for all those reasons, I think we all agree infiltration is important. Regarding the specific maintenance plans, a couple of questions moving from the sort of day-to-day up to the broader, the longer term situations. So the maintenance plan calls for semi-annual sweeping and vacuuming of the paver surface, as is apparently pretty standard in the industry. This uses large and specialized equipment. First off, I'm wondering where this equipment is going to be stored. Is it on site? I don't see any storage facilities on site for that. Well, does it need to be brought in? How is that going to be managed? Second issue is landscaping and general property management, just day-to-day and week-to-week work can generate organic waste and non-organic waste as well, which can spread on the pavers and has to be removed pretty much immediately. That can result the operations to remove materials from the surface can result in the paver joint aggregate being displaced. And of course, the semi-annual sweeping and vacuuming maintenance has the potential to remove even more. So in both of those cases, I'm wondering who will replace this aggregate. Will they be qualified, and how will the quality of those repairs be monitored? I'm also wondering whether there's going to be local storage for replacement aggregate material that meets and conforms to the original design spec. You don't just want to throw any gravel in there. Moving on to the broader issues. I'm wondering how the property owners commit to and plan to perform and report on the infiltration tests that will have to be done periodically. How will those tests be reported? How will they be monitored? And the repairs, when there are infiltration problems detected by a test, the repairs for those will be much more invasive. That'll involve removing material, replacing with new aggregate material. And again, I'm wondering who's going to do that, and how that will be monitored, and whether that will be done by certified contractors in a monitoring sort of situation. And then finally, number 4, just in general, does the Inland Wetlands Commission plan to require any kind of a long-term performance bond from the application, assuring that they'll meet their annual and their 5-year maintenance and inspection requirements? And of course, this would have to apply to both current owners and any subsequent owners. So that is, yep, I believe that covers it for me. So I'll call it quits.
Thank you, Mr. Morris, for your concerns and your testimony. Appreciate you sticking to the new topics. Who's next?
Mr. Chairman, it is Blue Harb, speaking on behalf of himself and his wife, our spouse, Sayumi Harb.
Okay. Is Mr. Harp present in the room?
Do not see him.
I don't either. Okay. Moving on to anyone else who wishes to address the agency at this time in opposition to the application. Going once, another time, or anyone wishing to address the agency in opposition to the application.
We have Robbie Silver.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Robbie Silver from 55 Governors. I noticed that the applicant has put a sidewalk on the plan, on the site plan 1, that was not there before. And I'm glad that there is a sidewalk, but I have a concern in terms of how it relates to inland wetlands. It extends across 34 Buick and up to the head wall of Stubby Creek, which is great, but it doesn't go all the way to the end of their property, which I don't know if that's a requirement for building, which I know is not your concern. And this property was also being listed as a walking accessible community, but the sidewalk also does not extend down to the south limits of their property or down to Cherry Street, which is a very narrow street, 20 feet. So my question is, if this applicant's property proceeds to planning and zoning, and they require a sidewalk all the way down there, does it come back to inland wetlands for this area that's in your purview? Because now we will have put in more concrete and whatnot than what was originally presented. So that's my question.
I can answer that question very directly. Yes, it would come back before the agency in that scenario. Mayor Rose can attest to that.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep, any modification to, as a general education for everyone, any modification to the plan from another agency would trigger a review by Mary Rose, who would then make a determination if the agency needed to be brought back in that case.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I thought.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Is Wiley Blake. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, Wiley Blake, 65 Governors Avenue. I sent a couple of pictures to Mr. Taft today, this afternoon, but he was out of the office, so you may not have those at your disposal. So I'll do my best without the pictures. Here goes. On the new drawing, SP-4 on the plan and profile, I see that the curbless side of Buick has been changed to a partially curbed length, but it is perforated with 6-inch slots every 10 feet to allow the storm water to leave the roadway and cross the 6-inch wide stone trench and pass into the new biofilter area. The stormwater is still going to run across that 6-inch stone trench sections and into the wetlands. Here's where my pictures would come in. There is a curbless stone trench detail that is 6 feet wide and it's swaled and it has a drainage pipe under the trench stone. I'm just going to pull up the name of the street. It's called Way Street, and it's so 6 feet wide. Back to my notes. The stone trench on Way Street that's much, much bigger is not being maintained. So in the pictures, which you can't see, there's grass, there's weeds, there's lawn clippings, leaves, stuff like that, that are all filling into that, the stone matrix. My question is, how can it be assured that this trench on Buick will always be properly maintained to protect the wetlands beyond? My next point is on drawing SP-10 biofiltration details. The applicant's proposing to remove 10 mature trees on the city property south of Buick and replacing it with over 184 plants in the bioswale that is not stone lined but has organic material. What happens when Stubby Plain Brook overflows at the knee wall, like the video that you saw back on the July 16th public hearing that Mr. Silver mentioned earlier, flooding Buick and taking the runoff from this development? And it will cover the street, filling the bioswale, and then go into Stubby Plain Brook. So about those plantings, is the city now going to be burdened with maintaining the bioswale and all the new plants in perpetuity? That would be expensive and a lot of work to replace plants that die and grow too large for the bioswale and then cross the curb line into the street. Thank you for your time. I appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Blake. Next, I'd like to recognize Marissa. I'm sorry, your last name is going to be hard for me.
Marissa Cuccinata, 31 Governors Avenue. And
Marissa, could you spell your last name?
Sure, it's Cucinotta.
Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Definitely would need more time to review all the documentation. Just there's a lot that's come in and haven't had quite time to digest it all. But one question that did come to mind during the presentations tonight was with regard to the mature Norway maples that are getting removed, which granted are invasive species, but with regards to the inland wetlands and Stubby Brook, their ability to absorb and filter some of that runoff, even while they're being replaced. It sounds like some of them are being replaced with other shade trees, but the black elm, I believe, or black gum is slower growing. So just questioning the amount of time that it would take for that to reach a similar size and be able to do the same, basically the same job that is being currently done by those Norway maples, some of which are quite large on the property. So that's the main question for me tonight, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else who's wishing to speak in opposition? And Ms. Blake, if you could lower your hand on Zoom when you have a moment. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? If not, turn to those who would like to speak in favor of the application in regards to any new information that's been presented. Mr. Jamie Mullen-Rood, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is James Rood, and I live at 141 West Main Street in Milford. And thank you for the opportunity to testify. I do want to thank the agency and its neighbors for caring so deeply about Milford's natural resource. I care deeply for the environment too. My husband and I have lived in an historic home in Milford for over 30 years. Let's remember that the wetlands on this
is gay.
Let's remember that the wetlands on this site make up only about 925 square feet of the property. I respectfully ask that this review should be proportional and include other environmental consequences of not approving this plan. I would ask that this commission consider that the environment of Milford is more than just its wetlands. For 3 decades, I've seen firsthand that Milford's environment includes a multi-generational, multi-ethnic, and economically diverse citizenry, as well as its historic homes. Over the past several years, I have watched these parts of Milford's environment degrade rapidly. Young adults, even those with good salaries, cannot afford to live in the town they grew up in, and their parents can't afford to downsize without leaving the city. The property we are considered also has a significantly historic home, which the developer, Dan Thornburg, a trusted Milford resident, is offering to restore at his own cost. Dan is committed to working with the city and the community to address their concerns. And let's face it, the drainage issues of this area should have been addressed by the city years ago. To my personal friends who live on Governor's Lane, I see you. I feel you. As you know, I used to be able to look out my window and see kids playing ball on Wasson Field. There's now a large apartment complex blocking my view. The difference is that that complex has no affordable housing and does nothing to improve Milford's environment. Unlike this project, the West Main Street project is contributing to Milford's decline. The developer of this project is improving the wetlands and property drainage while providing desperately needed affordable housing and saving one of Milford's most treasured homes. We need this project to be approved. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Rood. Charles, all in for Milford?
Hi, my name is Charles Montalbano. I live at 30 Revere Place in Milford, Connecticut. And first, I want to say I'm just so impressed with how thorough this board is in going over the details of the project and allowing so much testimony to be given. It's really a wonderful thing, and I'm sure that the inland wetlands in Milford are very well taken care of by you folks. So thank you very much. It does seem that with all the testimony that's been given, I appreciate it, but what the inland wetlands has come up with and the evidence to how little in wetlands there is on this project, that there is no reason not to support this project. It is going to be an enhancement for the entire city of Milford. It will allow people and low-income families to finally have a place to live. It's a great place to live and very convenient to many of the transit-oriented design district, and I would encourage you strongly to approve of this project. It will be great for Milford, and I think that it certainly comes within your purview to do so. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montalbano. Appreciate your testimony. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? And again, just please limit your testimony to the wetlands. If there's nothing, Sarah, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. I apologize. I couldn't figure out how to raise my hand on mine. Yeah, I would like to speak in favor as well. And also commend you for all
your
of this
name, please?
information. Sarah Bromley, sorry, 27 Norway Street, Milford.
Thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So yeah, based on this new information, it seems like it's that everything seems to be in order. These modifications, all this information and I really commend all the experts on how they've seem have gone above and beyond in responding to and really being willing to work with all the issues that were raised, and very willing, because they, the project developer is from Milford, and is doing this because he cares so deeply about Milford. So I don't think he's ever going to try to like avoid doing the right thing by the wetlands and by Milford and by all of us. So the strong evidence here seems to be that the project does not have a wetlands impact, and that's your job. So with this thoroughly reviewed expert testimony, if they're satisfied, I'm satisfied, and I hope you're satisfied, and that it seems clear that this project can be and should be approved by the commission and move on to the next stage, right? So thank you very much for your time, and I'm really impressed by, gosh, all the things that I didn't know you had to do. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for your testimony, Sarah Bromlin. Mr. Rice, Andrew Rice, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a good evening. Thank you all for coming out. This has been great to watch. And I just want to thank the chair and the members of the Inland Wetlands Agency for the opportunity to speak tonight. I really do appreciate that. My name is Andrew Rice. I live at 35 Quaker Place. I would consider myself an environmentalist, and I think it's really important that we do ensure that our environment is taken care of and that it is watched out for, because it is our most precious resource. And I really feel like the environmental experts and the construction experts have really taken a lot of time and consideration to make sure that this project doesn't negatively impact the wetland area. And I was reading that, this is only like 0.1% of that area. So it's a very negligible amount of land that would even be impacted in the end. I'm also very happy about seeing the review of like endangered species and tree management. That really shows that the environmental people looking over this were really making sure that there was no impact to the natural wildlife in that area. Because again, I really think it's important for us to be taking care of our environment. Having said that, I think it's also very important that we do address the material concerns of Milford residents, and that being the housing. And I feel like at the end of the day, a lot of these things come down to a balance, and I feel like it's a really good balance to have this low cost housing that would help alleviate some of the
Mr. Wright, Mr. Wright, as I said before, we're not here to disfavor or to favor the type of housing or the density. I'm sorry to cut you off. That is not under our purview. So we are very, much focused on the application before us as it relates to the inland wetlands. So please stick the comments to that.
My apologies. So yes, I just feel like that this is minimal impact to the wetlands, and I don't see any reason why the agency wouldn't be able to approve this project and move forward with it, given the anticipated benefits from it. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Rice. Anyone else wishing to speak to the agency? In favor? Anyone else? Okay, moving on to, at this time, I'd like to invite the applicant for an opportunity to comment on the testimony from the public, either in opposition or in favor. Mr. Chris Aden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will defer to the professionals on the team if they want to make any rebuttal at this point in time.
Okay.
I don't have any rebuttal.
Mr. Pop is saying no rebuttal. Mr. Wee or Mr. Gordon.
Yeah, I would say we have no rebuttal at this time, but we will defer that to summary.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, I would like to invite our experts from Land Tech to present to the agency your peer review. Mary Rose, for this portion, is there a presentation that will be shared, or Mr. Ryder, are you going to be presenting something? Speaking.
From my standpoint, I was going to just essentially go over some of the changes of the in the new plans that were made and how they addressed our comments. Obviously, likewise, we got the information somewhat late.
We were able to go through the written responses to our initial comments, but we would certainly like to revise our final our final comments uh, until we can more completely review the plan set that was submitted. What I will say based on the original comments that we made, we provided some suggestions and guidance that we thought would make the project better with regard to the proposed drainage system, and the different stormwater treatment management systems that were proposed. And based on the response to comments, it appears that they've generally taken those comments to heart and implemented them on the plan set, subject to our complete review of the plans. There was several items I wanted to sort of just go over some more detailed things, just to sort of get some additional information out there. There's
Through
a
you,
note.
Rob, if I can interrupt, through you, Mr. Chairman. Rob, was there a sheet you'd like me to share while you're discussing this?
I don't think so, because I think there's quite a bit of, it's more generalized design information with regard to the design of the pervious pavers, and some of that, and some of the information regard to what they're doing on Buick Avenue. It's more general, and I think we can, if we may come to there may be a document that may be helpful, but let me start and then we'll see how we go there. So the first sort of item that I wanted to talk about, and has to do with the vertical separation distance between, and this has to do with the permeable paver system. You will have heard from the applicant that he's maintaining a 2-foot separation distance between the bottom of the permeable paver system and the seasonal high groundwater, or indication of seasonal high groundwater. I think you will have heard from Mr. Trinkus in his review letter that a 3-foot separation is needed. That the DEP Stormwater Quality Manual requires 3 feet of separation. And the DEP in general recommends 3 feet of separation, but provides that distance can be reduced to 2 feet for 3 reasons. And these are found on page 188 of the Stormwater Quality Manual. The first reason that you can reduce the separation distance down to 2 feet is for strictly single and multifamily uses. So this project is a multifamily use, certainly qualifies. Also, you can reduce the vertical separation where the underlying groundwater classification is GB, which means that groundwater has already been impacted by pollutants, and there's little risk that this kind of a system would impact that, where an infiltration system would impact that groundwater further. So this groundwater in this area is classified GB. So it essentially meets both. It meets two of those. It doesn't have to meet all 3, but it meets 2 of the reasons that the groundwater vertical separation can be reduced. I know there was some discussion about hydrocarbons and fluids dripping off vehicles. I think Bob went through and did a very thorough presentation about the effectiveness of treatment via hydrocarbons via the permeable pavement system. I would say that the commission would not be outside of its bounds to require perhaps some type of spill prevention slash plan, if there was some other kind of spill in the parking lot, and how the applicant would be required to, have maybe certain materials on site, absorptive materials on site, to try to absorb a spill, a potential spill, and a plan, and who would be responsible for implementing that plan, that kind of a thing. So that might be something that the commission might want to think about requiring as a condition or as something the applicant would provide as far as potential spill protection and spill prevention and plan if that happened. I know that, and I don't think I've heard it from many commissions about, permeable pavement, about this concern about the maintenance, the post sort of construction ongoing maintenance. And it is a maintenance intensive system. There's no doubt that it requires, somewhat of a rigorous maintenance schedule, but I would caution the commission about, speculating that maintenance won't occur as a reason to not approve the project. There's kind of a legal thing about you can't speculate. The commission kind of has to assume that the permeable pavement will be maintained as the applicant says it will be. And that the permeable pavement will function as designed through its lifetime. To some of the to the discussion about the proposed treatment for the runoff that is going to be exclusively from Buick Avenue. So Bob Weenway had a good exhibit where he showed the area that was now kind of running directly off of Buick Avenue and the area that would be reduced to. And so I don't know, Mary Rose, if you have that. I couldn't tell you what number it is. Or maybe Bob could pipe in as to where to find that exhibit. Right. So the point here is that, and I think we touched upon it in our initial comments, and I think my colleague Tom will talk more about it a little about it, but there's some thought that some treatment is happening as the water runs across our site from off-site sources. But the fact that, we're actually having less water come across, actually sheet flow across Buick Avenue because we're actually treating it on site. You kind of compare this to more water that's not as highly concentrated with pollutants versus less water that may be slightly more concentrated with pollutants. Stormwater treatment works better with the latter, meaning it works better with less water where the pollutants are maybe a little bit more concentrated, but there's less water to treat. Generally, biofiltration swales and any type of stormwater treatment works better if the pollutants are a little more concentrated. It's harder for these things to work when the pollutants are diluted and less concentrated because there's more water. So the fact that we're reducing the amount of water that's going to sheet flow across Buick Avenue is actually better, and it's going to be treated better. I believe it's going to be treated better for what actually gets into the wetlands. the fact that they have added a biofiltration swale there is certainly an improvement over what's happening now. It will be an improvement in the runoff entering the wetlands. In my opinion, will actually be improved over what's happening today. There was a question regarding the maintenance of that. And the meeting that we had, with the town engineer and the applicant last Monday, the town engineer was very clear that, these things, the town is probably not going to maintain these roadside stormwater treatment facilities. So, we would, I guess, just encourage the applicant maybe to talk about or to about how this particular element that they're proposing doesn't require a whole lot of maintenance or may not require a whole lot of maintenance. So that's something that I think the commission should be aware of, is that the town is not going to maintain that, and that it's, to the extent possible, it should be designed to not need a lot of maintenance, because that maintenance is probably not going to happen. I think it was one of the residents, Mr. Silver, made a great presentation about the necessity of protecting the underlying soils. I think the plans and the phasing, as indicated, goes a long way to protecting that underlying filtration surface. There's also provisions in the construction sequence to do testing of the infiltrative capacity of that underlying soil prior to starting the construction of the placing of the underlying stone layers. So I think that the commission should take some comfort in that there will be testing sort of after all this construction traffic in that easternmost area happens. Once that overburden is removed and the subsurface prepared for the permeable pavers, there'll be infiltration testing done in that area as well as all the other areas, to verify that the certain infiltrative properties of the soils have not been compromised. Mr. Silver also talked about potentially some type of third-party oversight, and I think that I'm not sure if it's the purview of this commission, but I think that on a site, on a system like this, that some third-party oversight and certification could be warranted. And I'll leave it to the commission to think about that. I'm not sure, again, depending on which area is yours or which area is regulated, whether or not you could require that for the whole site. But I think that there's some value to a third-party professional certification and review of the construction process as it goes forward. So again, I think that, summarizing as far as the engineering comments, it feels like our initial comments have been addressed. And should a review of the plans basically confirm that they've done everything that they've said they've done in their response letter, I believe that my engineering comments will have been addressed and adequately addressed. And I think with that,
Thank you, Mr. Pryor, for your.
If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer, or we can wait till after maybe Tom does his portion of of his review, going over his review. But, certainly willing to answer any specific questions. And if there's something that you feel that we really need to look at further, any specific items, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, let's proceed to Mr. Tom Ryder's comments, and then we may have some follow-up questions for you.
Good evening. My name is Tom Ryder. I'm a senior ecologist here with Landtech. I have visited the sites. I walked the sites and looked at the natural communities out there, reviewed all of the reports, and as Rob said, and as if you're all aware, we have provided initial comments that we thought would improve the the water course, the wetland, and the also very important the buffer that we had made some recommendations about moving the road slightly to the north and allow for some treatments off of Buick Avenue. And as you have seen, although it did come in fairly late, I don't know if you've all digested it, but we have talked about it tonight, the bioswale. So as an introduction, what I'm saying is that we have made a number of suggestions. And on the environmental side, as with the engineering side, but on the environmental side, they have taken them seriously and taken them to heart, and have incorporated our recommendations into the plans. Going over some of the comments that we had, excuse me. The issues that we had originally were from the functions of the wetland to make sure they're protected. And I think with the addition of the bioswale, which is what an SP10 of the new plans, I think that's an excellent location for it. I think it will work well. I think the bioswale is designed, it shows adequate growth and infiltration media, which consists of topsoil, crushed stone, and compost. The plants that they have selected are appropriate for the area. The only question I had on that, on the bioswale, is that they show soil profiles, locations of soil profiles, C, D, or A, B, C, and D, but I did not see any of the data on that. So maybe the applicant can provide some of that information just to support the depths and the depths of the medium that they've designed. But I think that's a major improvement over the original plans, and I think it'll work well in that area. Also, there's a separate mitigation plan called LP1, prepared by Environmental Land Solutions. That offers an improved wetland buffer over what's existing today. The provides enhanced infiltration and nutrient uptake functions in the buffer, therefore improving the water that sheet flows over it into the wetland and eventually into the brook. I think that is a good location for it. It's what they have control over, and it's well utilized. And the plantings I have reviewed that are shown there are appropriate as well. The only comment I had on that is that they stated that they're kind of creating a meadow, which with an overstory, a future overstory, which then the meadow can either be, as Matt Pop had stated, well, he didn't state it in his report, he placed that it can either be left to natural succession or it can be mowed once a year. And in the text of the letter, he had put it in there during the winter months. He probably meant late fall. That's typically when these are mowed, late October, November timeframe. It's after all the birds have left, all the wildlife is gone. The vegetation is working its way into senescence, and you can do a good mowing on that. And the reason for the mowing is to actually rejuvenate, in many cases, the regrowth of the herbaceous vegetation, and it also keeps out some of the woody vegetation if that's what they're intending to do. But in general, I think that's a very good addition to it. The overriding comment I would have on both the bioswale and the planted, what's he calling it, a wetland mitigation area, is that those areas both have had, or both currently exist with invasive species. I know that they said that there was going to be an invasive species plan. I'd like to see those plans, at least notes on areas on how they're going to be dealing with that on the plans instead of doing it after the fact. That way it's approved as part of the plan, and they may want to do some monitoring on that down the road. The reason I'm saying all this is because when you disturb an area that already has invasives, the invasives don't really go away. They a lot of times they're rhizomal. They come back, and you're going to have to control those species in order to get your wetland mitigation area to function as it does, and the bioswale to function as it wants without being choked out. So there's going to have to be some type of control of invasives in those areas. Not only initially, but follow-up treatments or follow-up for multiple years, and some type of recognition that down the road that's gonna they have to come back and retreat, or through mechanical or spraying, or however they're going to be doing it. So I just would like to see some type of notes or locations or some type of understanding that monitoring will occur on that. That's my focus is a little more specific than the engineering. The engineering covered a lot of it. I had a lot of comments on those as well, but a lot of those comments were already incorporated into the engineering comments. So with that, my comments have been stated, and I'm here for any questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Ryder. So my question to both Mr. Pryor and to Mr. Ryder is, in light of the concerns that were raised by a few of the citizens in opposition this evening, especially, and in light of the fact that we've all received this information, I guess I would sort of ask that you guys take the time to consider and contemplate the concerns that were identified and help us in the agency ensure that those concerns are addressed. And I'm going to broaden my request to the applicant team. So, Mr. Crusaden, there were some pretty serious concerns raised by Mr. Silver, for example, and some others that I would like to suggest that the agency keep the public hearing open just for those concerns and give everyone the opportunity to kind of intentionally respond to those, not respond on the moment, but continue the hearing for one more special meeting to address those.
Sure.
That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and I think we are getting close to the end of the statutory allowance for the length, the duration of the amount of time the agency can hold a public hearing open. So, Mayor Rose, can you maybe remind me? I think it's the 24th of October. Is that right? Oh, you're on mute, Mayor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The terminal date for this application is 10/24/25. Once the hearing is closed, we'll have another 35 days to review it. but the hearing must be closed by Friday, October 24th. We have one meeting between now and then scheduled. That would be on Wednesday, October 15th. I don't know if it's the agency's pleasure to have another meeting intermediate to that. I do know the applicant team will not be available on Wednesday, the 22nd. I don't know if answers could be had within the next week, or if that we can get a quorum together next week to have a special meeting. I'm not sure what the agency's pleasure is on that.
Okay, thanks. Let me open it up to the agency. I'm sure, let me not assume, but I am going to just lead us off with saying I think we have a lot of information to review. There's a lot of new information as has already been acknowledged. And as I suggested, there's a few concerns that were raised this evening that need to be addressed. So is the preference to address those and continue the public hearing on the 15th, which is at our next regular meeting? Or is there a preference to have a special meeting to attend to this matter? Open it up to anyone's. Mr. Black.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think waiting to the 15th would be wise to give everybody enough time to take in all the information and be able to respond properly. I don't think we should rush this and make sure we have all the information out for the agency.
Okay, I like that idea. Good rationale. Any other thoughts? Mr. Gradwell?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I second what Mr. Black had said about, the 15th sounds like a decent time frame to allow us, the commission, to kind of get into the application material that we just got today and shortly thereafter. I'd like to hopefully state that we won't see any information on the 14th or the 15th of. Well, this is it. We won't see a package of plans on the 15th that we need to dig into again. That's what I would like to see. But that's the applicant and the review team's kind of wishes as well, hopefully.
Mr. Crusaden, is that your expectation as well?
Mm-hmm.
That there will be no new information
So
on the 15th?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm just thinking, my only concern is that if we wait till the 15th and due to I mean, I guess my first question, I apologize back to you, is the reasons it would be left open would be limited to, if it's very specific things, I think the 15th would work. If it's more, if there's more potential for things to be brought into the record, either by neighbors or, in opposition, that would require more answers, or more, the 15th might not be sufficient. It might be too late to get that information together. I mean, I guess it depends on if there's a timeline for receipt of information by the agency and what is it being left open for. The 15th could possibly work depending on what those parameters are.
Yeah, so let me try to help. I think for me, it's addressing the concerns that were raised this evening by the opposition from the public. There were a few things that stood out to me by Mr. Silver. There was another comment by, I believe it was Blakely. I could be wrong, going from memory. But if and I could pose my questions to Mary Rose after the meeting with some reflection, but I think, and I could review the recording, but I think to the extent that those concerns are identified and there's response given promptly and not in 2 weeks, but with a very short amount of time, that would give the agency enough time to consider that information and then move into deliberation and close the public hearing. Mary Rose, do you have anything to add? And you're on mute.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I just make one comment?
Sure.
It's Attorney Crusaden again. I think that to follow up on my concern, if the town experts have requests for redesigns as part of their final review, or if the city engineer, who I don't think has a final letter in there either, has a request for a redesign, that I think causes a problem with respect to the timing of it, depending on when we get that request for Mr. Weiwei, the design team, to redesign it and then get it back out to them for, those agencies and town experts for the further review of it. So I just wanted to bring that up as a point as well. Thank you.
That's a valid concern, and Mary Rose, I need to defer to you on guiding us through this time constraint.
So, through you, Mr. Chair. First off, we have the city engineer who stated in his memo he hasn't had time to thoroughly review the plans. Our consultants haven't had time to thoroughly review the plans. So if you're going to limit their responses, there may be something that they're not going to catch. So I agree with trying to limit the responses because we've gotten it down to just a few issues, but we have a whole set of plans that came in that needs to be reviewed. So the timing is up to the applicant and the city engineer and our consultants. They all have other things that they're working on. Obviously, I think vacations have gone away from that was a problem earlier this month. If we don't close the hearing on the 15th and we aren't able to have another meeting before the 24th, the agency is out of time statutorily. So I agree with giving
Could you technically have one on the 22nd if need be? If you didn't finish everything on the 15th, there is another Wednesday in that month.
There is. I don't know that. I think there's other people that need to be here have commitments that night. They can't be in our meeting.
Okay.
And we're not a special meeting can be held at any time. So it's not, we don't have to have Wednesdays, but we do need to be able to have hopefully an entire commission, but at least 5 members present who have been present through the process.
And Mary Rose, you mentioned that Mr. Plusky, the city engineer, said he hadn't had enough time to review the plans. You meant the revised plans that just came in.
Yes, the revised plans. He had reviewed the original plans and given us a memo. He had asked for revisions. We met on that when he returned from vacation last week ago, Monday, and the revised answers came in and then the plans came in. The answers came in, I think, Thursday, and the plans came in on Friday. I'm sorry.
I'm going to recommend that we consider having a meeting next Wednesday or Thursday. I think we're cutting it too close to wait for the 15th. But that's assuming there's a response from the city engineer. Can you give confidence to that, or are we?
I've told him that we would possibly have a special meeting, but he could have until the 15th, but we need it beforehand because Mr. Weiwei needs to respond to that. And Mr. Pryor needs to read both things. And I can underline that in the morning. So we're back to, can we do it next week? Next Wednesday, we will not have Lisa, but we can ask for a substitute who won't be as good as Lisa, but someone who can do the work.
I mean, if you can't find somebody, I could always listen to it and do it that way if, in a pinch.
Right.
I don't know. Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't believe I'm available next Wednesday.
Okay, Ms. Valvo. I think we should go with the 15th, and because I feel like there's too much risk in not knowing whether Greg is going to complete his assessment. As soon as he does complete it, we will have notice. We will start our, further review, and we'll come to the 15th prepared. As a contingency, we'll have to schedule something the week after or even later that week. What's the notice requirement for a special meeting? How many hours?
Special meeting is 24 hours. So if we had a meeting on Wednesday, the 15th, we would not be able to have one on Thursday, the 16th. I don't know that we'd get a quorum on Friday, the 17th.
Yeah, we could shoot for the week after. Okay, so I'm going to recommend that we stick with the 15th to continue the public hearing on testimony that and the concerns that was raised today and the completion of the city engineer's assessment of the plan and the applicant's subsequent response.
So you're limiting the hearing to city engineer's review of the plan and the applicant's response.
And the concerns that were identified this evening that need to be addressed. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion, Brandon.
Okay, Mr. Connors, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Mayor Rose, are we clear?
So the city engineer's review of the plans, can we have city engineers review and consultants review of the plans? Or land tech's review of the plans? Review of the plans, concerns raised this evening by the citizens and the applicant's response to the city engineer.
And the citizens' concerns.
Right, concerns raised this evening by the citizens. Right.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have, and so therefore the motion is to continue the hearing until the 15th of October for those reasons. And any further discussion? Hearing none. Lisa, roll call vote, please.
Danu Bedecker,
Aye.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Ray Gradwell,
Aye.
Brenda Magnan.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Are there any other questions, compelling questions? I should have asked this earlier, but from the commissioners that we haven't addressed, whether Mr. Bahave or anyone else on the commission, do you have any burning questions that, given the testimony that you heard this evening, that you would like to pose so that that could be part of, I'm assuming it would be under the umbrella of what we just voted on, but just giving you an opportunity.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I got a couple questions on, and really, I think Mr. Weiwei talked about something, and on Exhibit 2, he presented, or someone had on the screen, there was a large area that was kind of tributary and sheet flowed to the wetland adjacent to the Stubby Plain Brook that is basically going to be cut off and diverted, to the groundwater via the paver system or into the pipe system that, discharges to the head wall. Has there been thoughts to the reduction of water and volume of water that is tributary to that wetland and what the impacts of that wetland may be to the reduction or based on the reduction of the water, getting to that wetland? That was one thought or one concern based on the presentation, Mr. Weiwei. And I think Ms. Benno had mentioned something about that as well. And then the second concern is the Sunnyside Court area. It's going to be captured with a pipe and wrap around this development and then discharged to the head wall system adjacent to Stubby Plain Brook. Is there any treatment? I know we talked about a lot of stormwater measures and stormwater treatment on our site, this applicant site. Is there going to be any stormwater measures or treatment to the Sunnyside Court before it discharges into the Stubby Plain Brook? So those are my last kind of two concerns here and questions I have for the applicant. So if they want to think about those over the next couple of weeks and present any information back to that.
Mr. Chairman, you'll need to amend that into your motion. You've limited what can be discussed at the next meeting, so you need to be clear about what that is.
Okay, well, those, to me, those were all concerns that were discussed tonight that we've already said is under the purview of the continuation of the meeting. Do you not agree?
I'm not sure that that'll fully be covered.
Okay. Open to a motion, Mr. Gradwell, if you want to make a motion.
Like to make a motion.
Amend the motion.
Like to make a motion to amend the motion to add in a summary or review of the wetland that's tributary to the Stubby Plain Brook and the impacts to that wetland based on the diversion of the water to the groundwater based on the paver system and the pipe system wrapping around the development. And the second part of that amendment is to review the Sunnyside Court drainage through the site into the Stubby Brook watershed and the Stubby Brook system without any treatment devices.
Thank you, Mr. Gradwell. Someone second that for us?
I'll second it.
Mr. Connors, thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Mayor Rose, are you good with that?
Thank you.
Amended? Okay. Any other discussion? Lisa, roll call vote.
Dan Bedecker.
Aye.
Ranjit Bahav.
Aye.
Brian Black.
Aye.
Jim Connors. Julie Valvo.
Aye.
Ray Gradwell.
Aye.
Brenda Magnan.
Aye. Motion carries, so the amendment passes.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. As I acknowledge, I did things a little out of sequence. I should have asked the question before.
You're forgiven.
There's a lot of information. And it's late. So, okay. So I think, my last sort of guidance is to the team, the applicant team, if you could get, your thoughtful responses sooner than later to us, that would be obviously well appreciated. And I guess my sort of final comment is to everyone that's participating in the process, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you to the experts. Thank you for the citizens and for the agency and staff. With that, we'll move on to the next agenda item. If Mary Rose, if you could show the agenda.
Second. Excuse me. It'll take me a second. We lost internet at the city link at one point, so I need to get over to that site. The next item on the agenda is IW 250041 Bayshore Drive. That applicant needed additional time to review their information and get it back to us. The application times out on December 10th. The applicant has given us an extension until October 10th. The applicant has given us an extension to October 15th to hear their application. So there's no discussion of that application this evening.
Okay, thank you. We'll take no action on that one. The next up on the agenda then is new business.
All righty, give me 1 second and see if I can't show that to you. Wow, this is. Now, that will be up in just a second. This is a new application. We're receiving it this evening, and as soon as I can get to it, we are on item F, new business. It's IW 250054. This is 470 to 488 Wheelers Farms Road. It is a proposal to redevelop an existing community where office complex to a mixed-use community with construction, grading, and mitigation work in and within 150 feet of a wetland and watercourse in the Wetbog River watershed. The area where my mouse is right now is an existing pond. Work would be through this building is within our 150-foot upland review area. It's a proposal by Wheelish Farms Development LLC for redevelopment of a mixed-use community with construction, grading, and mitigation work in and within 150 feet of a wetland and watercourse in the Wepwag River watershed. Application is on the agenda for the first time this evening. The application's representative, Patrick O'Leary, is here this evening, although I informed him I didn't expect that they'd have time to present, but he is available if you would like to acknowledge. They submitted their application for receipt, and they planned on presenting at one of our next meetings. They understand that may be November 5th.
Okay, thank you, Mary Rose. Mr. O'Leary, I do see you in the audience. You want to announce yourself for the record?
Good afternoon, good evening, Commission. Patrick O'Leary. I am a professional engineer here in the state of Connecticut. I'm the Vice President of Development and Acquisitions for Continental Properties, part of Wheeler's Farm Developers, LLC. And we're very excited about this project, and we'd like to thank the Commission for receiving it tonight. And we look forward to working with the Commission and the staff within the municipality on this project. We think it's a great redevelopment, repurposing project of a tired facility, revitalizing it with new life. And I will wait to hear from Mary Rose on when we would be able to present this to the Commission and communicate with the town engineer with respect to receiving comments from him. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I give it back to you so that you can carry on with your business this evening.
Okay.
Unless you have any questions, or any of the commissioners, obviously.
Sure. Thanks, Mr. O'Leary. My only question is from a timing perspective. What sort of timing are you keen to pursue? Are you so we take great pride in kind of making sure that applicants don't sit in a waiting queue. So I just don't want to suggest that, it sort of seemed like that was being suggested, and I don't think that's what we would intend. So we're receiving it this evening. You're certainly within your rights to present it at the next regular meeting. We just have to sort of acknowledge that there's probably going to be something that's going to take up a good portion of the meeting before you, or we could consider having you present in the beginning. That's something we will do. But just maybe a general question on timing, if you
Sure.
can comment on that.
I think I would be amenable to November 5th, understanding the Commission has a full plate in front of it. Also, the engineer is going to need some time to develop his comments. I'd prefer to come back before you and have a good, solid presentation addressing all the comments coming in from staff, engineering, from wetlands and otherwise, so that we're comprehensive and complete when we do the presentation. So November 5th would be fine with us from that perspective. Once again, I leave it to you, Mr. Chairman, what works best for the Commission, but we have no objections to that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. O'Leary. That makes good sense. We like complete applications that are thoughtful and well prepared. So that makes sense, and just don't want to be holding you up. So, okay. Moving on. I believe consideration for the minutes from the prior meeting. So minutes from September 7th. I'm sorry. Yes.
17th.
September 17th. Do we have a motion to accept those as presented?
I can make that.
Okay. Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second that.
Great. And let me just look for a second. Okay.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote, Lisa.
Daniel Bediger,
Aye.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Ray Gradwell,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
I'm going to abstain. That's why I was pausing, because I was validating that I was not present. Okay, motion does pass. Thank you. Mary Rose, is there anything you need to highlight on the staff report?
I finally got the agenda downloaded again. On the staff report, a couple of things. New legislation went into effect yesterday that requires inland wetland commissioners to be trained every term or every 4 years. As we have 3-year terms, you're roughly going to be training every 3 years or so. It's the online inland wetlands commissioners training, which is unfortunately a bit long, but all of you have done it once already. And come January, because this goes into effect now, but starts for training in January. Come January, we'll send out a notice to everyone of what their remaining training requirements are, so that we can keep you all on task and be in compliance with the requirements. Several of you have let me know you want to attend Kakiwik. If you can, let me know by the 10th to the 15th. That would be helpful. It takes the city a little while to cut checks, and Kakiwik is a bit cranky when we don't have payment in hand when we go. There's a list of classes. Don't feel held to those classes. They're using it for room sizing. If you want to float between classes, that's fine, but we do need to register you with classes you want to attend. Also, if you have lunch hours free, I believe it's on Thursdays. It starts tomorrow. The Lula Land Use Academy basic training has 1-hour sessions at lunchtime. You can zoom in to watch them. Tomorrow is legal basis for land use regulations, commissioner training requirements, and types of power of land use commissions. Next week is running a meeting, and followed by alternates, sidewalks, and public hearings. And lastly, on the 23rd, conflicts of interest, bias, and predisposition, representation by commission members, social media, and FOIA. So those are just a few. It's additional training to your requirements, but sometimes helpful. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Yes.
Yes.
If I may ask a favor, in the future, would you text me the access code? Because that's how to break the stone wall of that thing to get in.
All right. We will put a note on our calendar.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Jim, I'm sorry. I don't know what the...
It's okay. It's not your fault.
Right.
It comes up with that workplace thing, and talking to Buddy when on the sidewalk, he was having the same troubles.
All right. So we will...
The code got me in.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you.
Is there anything else for Mary Rose? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Lisa, roll call vote, please.
Dan Bediger,
Aye.
Ranjit Bahav,
Aye.
Brian Black,
Aye.
Jim Connors,
Aye.
Julie Valvo,
Aye.
Ray Gradwell,
Aye.
Brendan Magnan.
Aye, motion carries. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
You too. Good night.
Thank you.
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.